so fulfilling, like to be able to, man, that's hard. And not a lot of people have done this. I prepared myself to do it. And then you get out there and you do it, and it's hard, and you get to those dark places and you find out what you're made of, man. You find out that you can push beyond. You start learning like what those lows feel like.
Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
Today I've got my Strava buddy and a guy that does podcasts as well, David Theriot, on, and I've been following him for a while, listened to some of his podcasts, but he runs long distances and really kills complacency with that. But David, could you kind of tell us your story and how you got started?
Oh man, yeah. So I was never really a runner growing up. I wrestled in high school, and running was a punishment. And we did it for conditioning. And so it was kind of a necessary evil. And I actually started running later in life because I was doing jujitsu and things, stuff like that, and competing and enjoying it. And I would only run for conditioning and to cut weight. And so in 2009, I was training, and I tore my ACL, and I was just rolling with our instructor, and it was my fault. I tried to muscle through something like instead of using technique, and I felt it pop, and I was in denial. I kept trying to run. I kept doing stuff, and I did an MRI, and I knew the doctor. She went to my church, the doctor that did the MRI, and she called me up and she said, "Stop." And I said, "What?" She said, "All that you're doing, just stop. You have a torn ACL." And I was like, "Oh, so I probably shouldn't be running on it or doing, other things." So anyway, long story short, I did surgery December of 2009. And I wanted a goal to rehab my knee. So kind of while I was, did surgery, and I read the book Born to Run, and I was like, I like this, I like the vibe. And, I was starting to enjoy running a little bit, for conditioning. And so I said, I'm going to run a marathon within a year of ACL surgery. I had never run any race, hadn't done a 5K.
That was a giant goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was huge. It was, because like I said, I never did a 5K, never did a 10K. I think the longest I had run that I can remember was like 7 miles. And so I was like, yeah, I just want to set a big goal. I like big goals. And so I was like, I'm gonna run a marathon in a year. And so I was smart. I rehabbed my knee. I attacked rehab. I told him, I was like, look, you tell me what I need to do and I'm going to do it. And if it hurts me, but it's a good hurt, then whatever, I'll do it. And I attacked rehab, started training. And then December of 2010, just shy of a year, I ran the Baton Rouge Beach Marathon, and did okay, for my first marathon. I did pretty good, and I didn't die, and it hurt. And I did it because I read Born to Run. I did it in Vibram 5-finger shoes. I did all my training.
Oh,
and yeah. I was one of those guys, man. And so I did it. And my daughter at the same time ran her first half marathon. I think she was 16 at the time.
Okay.
And so it was pretty cool. We did that. And I said, I really like this running.
Did it hurt your knee, that marathon?
No, it was good.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It's all better.
I guess because of the rehab and stuff, I just really paid attention to my form, while I was kind of learning to run, and so I was rehabbing my knee. I made sure when you're running in those Vibram 5-finger shoes, man, you can't be heel striking. You gotta make sure you're landing right and absorbing the shock with your calves instead of your heels, and jarring everything else. So my knee was great, like no issues with my knee. And so, man, I really like this running. So then I went run 5Ks, 10Ks and half marathons and did a bunch more marathons. And I discovered trail running and ultra marathons. And I was like, man, I really like that. And, so it's kind of funny, man. I don't know, the trail running community, it's like I got online and started getting to know some of the people. I had never run anything, and there was a trail where I would end up running my first ultra marathon, And I never been there. So I got online in one of the local trail running groups and said, "Hey, I want to go run this trail. Anybody runs it?" And this one guy I never met, he's like, "Yeah, I'll be there at 5 a.m. If you want to come run with me." So like I'm meeting a dude in the dark that I'd never met before to go run a 20-mile loop in the woods. It's like, and it was great. Like he's a, but like we still keep in touch, and it was awesome. And so I was picking his brain because he had run 100-mile before. So I just asking questions, and so I said, well, I'm gonna do this. I want to run an ultra.
What year is this?
This was so I probably started training for it 2012, middle of 2012 or something. And because the race, my goal race was going to be 2013. And so I didn't do a 50K. I didn't sign up for a 50-mile. I signed up for a 100-miler. It was, at the time, it was called the Cajun Coyote in South Louisiana. It's 5 20-mile loops on some pretty cool trail and some swamps and stuff. It's very Louisiana, that's where I'm from. And now it's the Loup-Garou. But and so I trained for it, man. I put in the work. I'd show up on a Saturday and I'd run that loop, run 40 miles on it. I trained really well.
Yeah.
And so I ran my first ultra marathon, December of 2013, the Cajun Coyote 100, man. And it was tough, man. It was hard. Like my feet swole up after, and I got video of me just limping around, my brother laughing at me and stuff, but but it was awesome. Like, to put that work in, and like I suffered through training and I suffered through the race, but I was like, I was hooked. I was hooked on the ultra marathons. And so I started doing those.
What hooked you, David? Over the years, I have been coached by countless mentors, and now I want to offer that to you as well. How? By Marty Hofmann's Life Coaching. This will be a 6-week program in which I will guarantee you will develop a more growth mindset. We will set goals and learn about the importance of the processes and habits behind those goals. I will also help you see your story differently as things happening for you, not to you. We will also be discussing your future self and give you clarity on who that is and what it looks like. For more information, please follow the link below or hop on martyhoffman.com and follow the coaching link.
I liked that it was difficult. I liked the process of preparing myself to do that. Like so people that listen to my podcast have heard me say this before, but I love that when I sign up for a race, when I signed up for that race, I was not the man that could run 100 miles. Like I was not that guy. And so I knew when I signed up, I had to discipline myself to be that guy. When I show up at the starting line, I need to make sure that I'm that guy that can run 100 miles. And so I'm committing not only to show up to the starting line for the race, but I'm committing to the training, the whole process to get myself ready for it. And so it's so fulfilling, like to be able to, like, man, that's hard. And not a lot of people have done this. And I prepared myself to do it. And sure, and it takes a community. I had people that helped me. I drove people nuts asking questions and stuff, like, hey, what do you eat? What do you do? Figuring it out. And then you get out there and you do it, and it's hard, and you get to those dark places and you find out what you're made of, man. You find out that you can push beyond. You start learning like what those lows feel like. And you're like, wow, I've never hurt so much in my life, but I can still keep moving, like I can, And so I just fell in love with that, man. It just, and just the whole process and to keep doing it. And so, I was just hooked.
I'm fairly new to running, but I really like what you said there. And it's for me, it's the most empowering thing about it is you set a goal. You sign up for the race, and I know it's not this easy, but I feel like it's as easy as following a plan. Every day, showing up, doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And showing up at race day and doing what you've been training for. And it's been really empowering. Like, dude, people can do anything they want if they have a solid plan and they just follow it.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh, I could never do that." And I always say, "Yeah, you could. You could. Like, you can run 100 miles. You just need to put in the work. You have to
Yeah.
want it. You have to want to put in the work." And I started the podcast and everything, and I coach runners now. And part of the thing that I love is when people reach out to me, they're seeing like, "Oh, I think maybe I can do this." That they're even asking the question, and I'm like, dude, yeah, you can, like, let's do it,
Mhm.
and so, I walk them through the process, and I can't tell you how many. I probably tell every runner I've ever coached to do an ultra or 100 or whatever, or even 200, like, trust the process. Like, if you
Yeah.
trust the process, if you put in the work, if you do what you're supposed to do, you'll get to that finish line. I mean, there are occurrences where things happen outside of your circumstances, injuries happen, and
Sure.
sometimes those things happen. But by and large, if you follow the process and you do it, that, like you said, I love that. That's empowering.
Mhm.
And then when they do it, they realize, like, man, I did that. I put in the work, and I finished that race. And it happens, and tough times come, injuries happen and stuff, even. And it's funny when someone, I always try to prepare mentally the runners that I work with, and I was like, okay, you think like, you think but you don't. Like, when you get there, and I have just recently, one of the runners, he was having a tough time. He was sitting down at an aid station. He had his head down, and he's like, I can't. I was like, hey, dude, you remember when I told you you were gonna it was gonna get hard? That's where you are right now. That's exactly where you are. You thought you knew, huh? And he's like, yeah. I was like, now you know. I was like, get up and get out of the aid station. Let's go. But that's where you find out, like, okay, like, he thought he was done, but he had more in the tank. He got up and kept moving, and
Yeah.
so that's so fun. And, like, I've been there where I was like, I'm done. And then you keep moving, and then you come out of it, and you're like, oh, I wasn't done. Like, there's more.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's cool too because it compounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that big audacious goal you had of that first marathon
Yeah.
now is, you probably do that every month, maybe not, but I would imagine you've ran 5 or 6 marathons this year of one way or the other, maybe.
I've run the distance. In this, this year, we talked a little bit. I had, well, we can talk about the other knee surgeries and stuff. I've had some setbacks and stuff, but things happen. But, like, so I ran 20, was running marathons, and that was the ultimate. And then I ran 100 miles, and I corrupted my parents, because when I started running ultras, my mom was like, just run marathons, like, you can running all that, and they would come crew me, and they'd see how it was hard, and they were like, just run marathons. And I was like, nah, and then I started running, we can talk about, the 200 milers, and so she's like, now she's saying, just run the 100 milers. Like, don't, it's like, you don't have to run 200 miles. I'm like, so I got them all jacked up, man. They're corrupt. So they think the 100 milers
are easy. Do they still crew you?
So if I need them to, they drop everything and do it. My wife crews me for a lot of the races, but my parents have crewed me for some, if I need them to step in. And they've come met me. They've actually come met me in Arkansas. They retired up to Arkansas, so they'll come and meet me when I'm crewing others and stuff, and they'll just come hang out. And it's pretty cool. They're retired, and they love following the craziness. Yeah.
So I asked you before the show, but kind of want to know here, mostly because I hear so many people say, I have bad knees, I can't run. How many knee surgeries have you had?
Okay, so I tore the ACL. I had that surgery, and that one was pretty basic. In 2009, it was just the ACL that was torn. So I call it the trampoline incident of 2015. My son decided to do the trampoline park for his birthday, and I'm a dummy, so I got up there, and I was too old to be doing that stuff. Jumping, and I'm doing slam dunk, and my son said, "Hey, show my friend how you say." And I slam dunk, and when I came down on it, I felt that same knee just. I mean, I retore that. I tore that ACL again, the repaired ACL, and then I dinged the cartilage and tore some meniscus. And so the first surgery, I was able to go in and have surgery, and I was able to walk the next day. But this one, because they repaired meniscus, I was on crutches for 6 weeks. And, I was, messed it up pretty good. And I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the sport I love. But one of the things that I had to do for my own sanity is, and anybody that knows me knows I say this all the time: when you can't do what you want to do, you do what you can. And so I was crutching as soon as I could. It's my right leg, and so as soon as I could drive, or I don't know if I was supposed to be, but I was driving. As soon as I could figure out how to drive with my leg in that thing, I was at the gym in crutches, just doing what I could. And I was trying to figure out, and I would do the machines, and I would work out my upper body and work my core as best as I could. And I was like, what can I do for cardio? Well, in South Louisiana, the gym I was at had this endless rope that you could just pull really fast. And I would just do that as fast as I could. And they had a hand bike, and I would do that a little, just trying to keep in shape and do what I could. So I could, when I was able to run again, if I was, I was still in shape. I was still, my core was strong. I was preparing myself for it. And so I just kept doing that. And once again, attacked rehab, physical therapy, and just did it with all I could, and did everything they told me to do, and followed the protocols, and I was able to start running again, and I took it, eased up, and so I ran some of my best races after that, and it's been amazing. So I did that surgery, and then I had to have another part of that surgery done again. He had to, one of the meniscus repairs didn't take, so he had to go in and snip it. So that's 3. And then I just, in April, had to have another one. I tore meniscus again, and he had to go in and scope it and clean it out and do some things. But if I would have listened to people like, you can't run anymore, man, I would have missed some of the best running I've done. I had in 2018. No, 20, I don't remember. I had the Kansas State record for a year for the fastest 100-miler in Kansas. And, and I just went out and just trained as hard as I could and did the best I could. I've run I started doing 200-milers since then, and I was able to run those. I got to go to Western States, in 2019, and all that was on knees I shouldn't have been running on, it's like I would, and so I wouldn't trade that for anything, man. I and that's what even now, my knee's not 100% because of what was going on. But, like I shared with you on the air, the Monday before Christmas, I'll be doing the Dreadmill 100 on the,
Tell me real quick about that. Dreadville 100.
It's the Dreadmill.
Dreadmill, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So it's 100 miles within 48 hours on a treadmill. Or you can do the 48-hour where you can see how many miles you can do. You can do 150 or whatever within 48 hours, and you've got to log it all. You got to take pictures of proof and everything else. I'm probably going to live stream it. I don't know. Somebody asked me to, and somebody else said, "Yeah, live stream." And I was like, "I just want to see me suffer, I guess. I don't know, because it's going to be ridiculous." But I've done it twice before, and every time I've done it, I was like, "I'm never doing this again." And I just wanted a 100-miler this year because I did that surgery, and I was already signed up for the High Lonesome 100, and it was only 3 months after the surgery. And my doctor said, if you listen to your body, you can go attempt it. And so I was able to get a little bit of training in, and it was high altitude, and I live in, Oklahoma, where it's low altitude, and it was climbing. And so I went for it. And I made it to 50K, and my knee was swollen, and I was icing it. I was sitting at the aid station icing it, and the medic comes up to me, and he said, "Hey, so what's going on?" And I was like, "Well," so I told him, I said, "Let me tell you my story." So I told him about the surgery and on. He's like, "Why are you here?" I said, "My doctor said I should be here, man." And he said, "Well, you know what you need to do." And I was like, I'd already resigned myself that I needed to stop there. And so he kind of validated that. And then I just kind of helped crew some other runners and just enjoyed the mountains for a little bit. But so I got to get a 100-miler in. So I'm going to do the Dreadmill 100, and it's going to be a mental challenge as well as physical, because yeah.
If you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store. It's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com. Mindsetshop.com. How many how many years have you done 100 miles?
I think
Have you
I've
done it every
done.
year since 2013?
I think so. I've got 17 of 100 miles or
Mm,
more, 17 races of 100 miles
it's
or
a
more.
lot.
So yeah, I my last big one was last October. I did the Moab 240. Not this past one, but
Mhm.
2023, and I failed it in 2020. I got to run with David Goggins a little bit, but my stomach went south, and I got dehydrated and had to drop. And you try hard things, and sometimes you fail.
Yeah.
But if you just learn, if you have the right attitude, like yeah, I was upset. I had to lick my wounds, but now I have, what can I learn from that failure? And then when I went back, I got it done. So
Talk to me about that a little bit, David, because I think that's another point that we don't often talk about enough, and that is that, especially on big race day, things don't go as planned, right? Like, have you ever had a perfect race?
no, man. I don't think so. Even that fast one in Kansas, I didn't have a crew or pacers. I was by myself with drop bags, and it went well. It went really well, but there were points, there were things I could have done a little bit better with nutrition.
Mhm.
There's always something that you can improve on, and I've had, man, 100 miler where 25 miles in, I'm hurt, like something's hurting, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. Like this is too early for this junk. This is normally like 70 miles in, and you will yourself to keep moving, or you figure it out. And that's kind of the fun of it. Like, all right, what can I do? Like, I need to figure this out, and you troubleshoot, and then you come out of it on the other side of it, and you're running like you just
Mhm.
started, and you're like, well, I felt like I needed to quit, and now I'm just cruising. And so you learn something from every race. Like, a
Yeah.
lot of times it has to do with nutrition, but other times it has to do with, I mentioned Goggins earlier. I was running the Lugaru 100, and I was trying to win it. And it's a 20-mile loop. And at mile 19, I turned my ankle bad. I felt it pop.
Mm,
And you know how when you kind of turn it and you can kind of keep running and you limp
yeah.
a little bit, and then you get back and you're like, all right, it's okay. Well, it wasn't doing that. And then I turned it again and again. And then I got to the end of the 20-mile loop. And the race director is a friend of mine. Her name's Edie. And I said, Edie, man, I turned my ankle bad. And she was working on something, and she just said, don't take your shoe off, it'll swell, and you won't be able to get your shoe back on. And then she went back to what she was doing, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna keep running, because she's not having any pity on me or anything. And so, but I was able to run and keep my foot stable without turning it again. And I finished the race. I ended up placing third. At mile 60, I didn't look at it or anything. At mile 60, I had to change my shoes because I was having a hot spot. And some of my friends were there at the aid, and I said, I got to change my shoes, got a hot spot. And they when they saw me take my sock and everything, it was all different colors, black and blue, and they didn't say anything, but afterwards they were like, dude, like that was ridiculous. It was, but I knew I could run without hurting it anymore. I'd figured out how to do it. And so, like, I learned a lot about myself that day, and I had just read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me.
Mm,
And so while I was running, when I was having issues, I was just like, can't hurt me. I just kept saying, that was my
mm.
mantra, can't hurt me, can't hurt me. And um I got it done, and I didn't win it like I wanted to, but I was able to podium, and my ankle ended up being fine after a few weeks. I just able to just not turn it again. Yeah.
Yeah. What is a hot spot? I've never heard that term.
So for some reason, like, just it's on the bottom of your shoe or bottom of your foot, or on the side, where it literally feels like it's getting hot, and it'll start to
Mm,
blister if you don't take care of it. And
okay.
there are different things. Like, I have a great pair of shoes right now that I love to wear, but when I get to about mile 8, I start getting a hot spot at the bottom. And so you got to figure out, like, I think it's the shoe, just the way it fits. But sometimes you can tape up the foot, you can use some
Mhm.
lube or something, and deal with it. And I think that shoe had just gotten wet, and I just needed to change shoes and socks.
I've had that a few times, and the last time I had it, I said, I got to look at this. I'm going to blister. And there was
Yeah.
nothing. I was
Yeah.
sure I'd blistered, but it was acting hot.
Yeah, and
So
and
yeah,
if you keep on with it, sometimes it'll get blistery or whatever, and sometimes you just put a piece of Leuko tape on it or KT tape or something like that, and that's part of the like troubleshooting when you're running, especially a race like that. You either have to, I don't know, just keep dealing with it or figure it
yeah,
out. Like especially in the 200s, I've been pretty blessed. Like my feet, I don't blister a lot or deal with toe issues or anything like that. I'm pretty good about it. Like I can run a 100 miler, even a wet one, a lot of times without having to change shoes or socks.
mm,
But when I ran the Tahoe 200 and then Moab, man, you just up and down in the mountains. Like I don't know if you can run that without getting a blister or something, and you just got to deal with it. Like you got to pop it, and it still hurts, but you're not doing permanent damage.
yeah,
And I'm like, okay, you mentally tell yourself, I'm just going to deal with this later. Like this hurts, but I'll deal with that later.
sure.
It's I'm not making any damaging my foot permanently, but I'll deal with the pain later. Let's just keep moving.
Just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.